So that's what we want to do. We want to alleviate just some of that burden. Not just the financial burden, but the mental burden. The am I doing enough for my child?
Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Missions That Made Them. I am your host, Jason Verdelli. This isn't just a podcast, but rather it's a movement. It's a movement designed to make the world a better place by bringing more awareness to the great work of the people and organizations making a difference. And more importantly, how you can help. We live in a world today surrounded by a narrative in the media that focuses in on negativity and draws attention to the problems, but not the solutions. Our guests represent the solutions, not the problems. And with that, I am excited today to announce our guest. It's Melissa Barnett with Helping Mamas. And Melissa is going to, these guys are just amazing what they've done. I mean, this is, as a father of a 4-year-old, 4.5-year-old, I guess at this point, uh, it's incredible as a parent, especially as a young parent, especially young parents, when you get started out sometimes, with a new baby and getting the needs, getting all the things that you need, right? Diapers, all those things. These guys are just the work that they're doing is absolutely amazing. And they really represent a lot of what we talk about on this podcast, which is being part of the solution and not part of the problem. So without further ado, Melissa, welcome.
Jason, thank you so much for having us. We are excited to bring what we do to a little bit bigger audience.
Excellent. So tell everybody, what Helping Mamas is all about.
Yeah, so Helping Mamas is a baby supply bank. We're a registered diaper bank. And what we do is collect essential items. So you might first think of diapers and wipes, cribs, pack and plays, car seats, all the things that are essential to bringing a baby into this world and the things that you need. Clothes behind me, and just all collect those things primarily through donations. And we redistribute them into the community. We say that everybody needs a little help, but everybody has a little help to give. And so we want to connect mamas that need help with Helping Mamas. We partner right now. We have 44 agencies. We're looking at adding 2 more next week. So we'll have 46 social service agencies that we partner with, and they call us and say, these are our needs. And we have been so incredibly blessed to be able to meet almost all of those. We get that to them. And then that way, those case managers, those social workers that work so hard and so tirelessly, they're able to do their job and spend time in direct services. So instead of chasing down a car seat or diapers, we know that a parent that is focused on an essential need, such as diapers, can't retain information and learn about parenting skills or look for jobs or do all those things until the essential needs are met. So we want to make sure that these agencies are getting the things that they need to their clients to just empower them and propel them into a situation that's going to be better for them and for their babies.
Yeah, so these agencies aren't looking around. They have the goods, so to speak, or they have everything that is really required for all those basic needs. And question is, so where did you see obviously I would love to hear the story of this, how it began, but before we get there, I mean, what's the gap? What do you find is the gap between the agencies before Helping Mamas and now?
Right.
Now that you're
So our founder that started it in Atlanta, she was a social worker, and a mama, which is how I got on board also.
yeah.
And very similar to what you said, raising a child is hard and it does require a lot of things. I think our social workers and our agencies, like I said, they work so hard, but funds are limited. People are limited. And I think something huge that most of the general public doesn't realize is that SNAP and WIC, food stamps, or there's no government money that goes to diapers that can be used for diapers.
Oh, interesting.
That's a huge piece. It's very hard
Yeah.
if you're kind of down on your luck or in a position, to get these things, and they're essential. We know, and you know this as a parent, that you have to have diapers. And so we talked about the statistics earlier, but 1 in 3 families are at the grocery store and they're having to pick between food and diapers. So if they're picking food,
1 in 3.
1 in 3. Yes.
1 in 3.
They're
Good Lord.
Um,
That's a lot.
they
Yeah.
are then going home and reusing diapers or using newspapers or, um, plastic bags. And so that causes, just a downfall of problems. We're talking
Sure.
problems. If you want to put your kid in childcare, they're going to say, well, you need X amount of diapers this week to bring your kid to.
Right.
How are you going to get a job if you can't get childcare? So I think just maybe the overall recognition that it's an essential need. That, to bring a baby on this side and keep them safe and dry and healthy, we need these things.
Yeah. Yeah, and until you become, before I became a parent, I didn't even realize and really probably even respect, probably really, I shouldn't say wasn't out of disrespect, but it was just out of, when you become a parent, you're like, okay, all of a sudden now you have all these needs. Your time, especially, is in as a new parent. Obviously, you're spending a lot of time with your child. You're spending a lot of late nights, or waking up in the middle of the night. There's a lot more that goes into it. But then you stack up all the pressure that you have to have diapers, have a certain amount of diapers, for instance, that for daycare, and then not only the cost of daycare,
Right.
which is that's a whole different podcast, but
Right.
the but the cool thing, so what really, so there's this, obviously, the gap. These agencies are not really designed for the basic needs of a parent, for the parent, especially with the younger child. How did this all get started?
So our founder, Jamie Lackey, out of Atlanta, like I said, she was a social worker and a mom, and realized
Yeah.
this gap. And so she kind of started in her garage, and then it kind of grew from there. And just kind of looking, kind of found other people to bring on. And then her cousin lived in Knoxville and said,
Yeah.
I want to do this here too. And so that's our executive director, Tess Freer. And she started in her garage, and we moved, to a little bit bigger spot. I came on the same exact way. I started volunteering, thinking, oh my gosh, I've got these baby things. What am I going to do with these things? And so I started, volunteering and bringing my stuff. And then a position opened up for me to be here. But I think going back, I have a supportive partner. I'm not a teen mother. I don't have an addiction problem. I'm not a refugee, and parenting is hard. It's very hard. It's 24/7. It's expensive. It requires transportation. It requires housing, and it requires all these things. So I think allowing our social workers to spend more time helping with the bigger things, how are we
Yeah.
rent? How are we going to do job training to get a job? How are we going to find childcare? Is where we come in and say, hey, you take care of this. Let us take care of this.
Yeah. And so you're really partners with them, and it's again, just you're solving that basic need, and man, that goes a long, long, long way, especially for the person that's at the end of the recipient of that. That's just incredible. I mean, so you're in Atlanta and Knoxville
Right.
right now. Is there any plans to, I mean, I see this as something that every community could use. Is there any plans to expand?
Yeah, I think it is. Tennessee is a really long state. So right now, we're kind of part. We're doing these 22 counties right here, just testing,
Yeah.
and a host of incredible volunteers. But we've partnered with somebody in Hamilton County, which is in Chattanooga, so a little bit further south. And hoping to just kind of take it more west for sure. There is another diaper bank in Nashville. They do an incredible amount of diapers, and they partner with some clinics. There's a small one in Memphis,
Yeah.
but just kind of collaborating together, and how we can meet the kind of needs. I think you might be familiar with a lot of churches have care closets and that kind of.
Mhm.
A lot of agencies, do get grants or they have a small amount of space, but then that becomes an issue. You'll look behind me and I can kind of give you a little, you know, but when you're talking
Oh, that's cool.
potties and bathtubs and bouncer seats and formula and just all of the things, space
Yeah.
you, and so being able to house that for them also.
That's awesome. Yeah, the space and to house all that, and there's a lot of coord. There's got to be a ton of coordination with all this. I mean,
Yeah, we've been really lucky to grow so much. So, 2 years ago, we did about 48,000 diapers. Last year, we did close to
wow.
107,000. Um, so
Oh
over
my
doubled in a
god.
year. Um,
Yeah.
that's not counting clothes. That is counting just diapers. So
Yeah.
couldn't do it without the donations that we get. So getting the word out, because a lot of people still don't know about us, even in our area. Um, the
Yeah.
word out that these things are quickly taken and they're redistributed out quickly, for free. I think, and
Mhm.
that's been, I've seen that in my own kind of circle of friends, but just people going, I had no idea this was a thing, and man, it's really needed.
Yeah. I almost see this too as like if you have a like my son's 4, so we have stuff from when he's like 2 that's no longer, obviously that's no longer needed unless you plan on having
Yeah.
another kid, which could very well happen. But again, if you have, say, some kid who's 7 or 8 or whatever, and you're done,
Yeah.
right? You're done. And I would imagine that would be probably a pretty good person to donate, right? Because they have these clothes that are sort of, if they're not sentimental, they're not hoarding the clothes, so to
Yeah.
speak, for sentimental purposes or whatever. Again, I don't want to say anything, if you want to keep it for mementos or whatever. But those, I would imagine those parents, especially would be people that are looking to get rid of that
Right.
stuff, and
I
also help,
found
would be a
that
huge part.
people are holding on to things for sentimental reasons, or not
Yeah.
ready to say I'm not having another child, but but they take up space, the swings and, things like that. And it's been a really good, I feel like, for a lot of people to say, man, this is just so nice. I hate to just throw it out. Um,
Yeah.
and so we try really hard, especially when the bigger things come in. A lady donated a pregnancy pillow, which, unless you've needed or had
Oh,
one, you
yeah.
don't know how amazing they are, but they're very expensive. And so we quickly, actually, like with less than 48 hours, we had a new mom that it was going out to. And I made sure that I got a picture with it and sent it to the lady that had donated. And she was like, I knew somebody needed this pillow. Um, so
Yeah.
it's good for that.
Oh, that's
Like, you're
funny.
holding on to these things, but there are people, your neighbors, that are in your community that could really benefit from them too.
Yeah. That is so cool. I mean, like us, we have so many clothes, so many like clothes and toys and all these little things. It's funny when you become a parent, it's all these like little tiny things that you wouldn't even think about, right? I mean, it's like from diapers to,
The socks,
I mean, obviously just
gloves.
basic stuff, so socks, gloves, and they have to be a certain size, and if their hand grows by a certain amount, all of a sudden now you got to buy them new clothes on top of diapers, because if they don't get out of diapers until they're 4 or 5 or whatever, we're at the stage now where he's sort of like in that
Yeah.
transition, right? We're trying to say, hey, good job, you're doing it, and then sometimes you just like, screw it, I'll
Yeah.
just throw on the diaper, right? So you're paying for diapers for you're on the five-year plan, right?
I think,
So we're
um,
yeah,
you know, you have this realization, and something I love about the mission that you guys have going is that, you're looking for a solution. And I think I
yeah,
came in with the mindset of, very often one person doesn't make a difference, in the big grand scheme of things, but you know what? You can make a difference in your corner, and if enough people are doing that, it's huge.
mm-hmm.
We had a call last week, from a nurse, at one of our partner agencies, and she said, "Hey, we've got a mom here, and she had her baby early, and she was going to give the baby up for adoption to a family member, and she's decided she wants to parent." And so she came to the hospital with no car seat and clearly nothing, that she was going to go home. She didn't have anything for the baby. So we were able to provide, not just the car seat and the pack and play and the clothes and the diapers, but the other things too. She was having a little girl. And so we included some headbands. And I happened to have somebody that had donated a baby book, and all these things that, while they may seem insignificant, and you're saying, hey, a baby book is not essential. You're right. It's not. You don't need it to raise a baby. But if we want to empower this mom to know that she made the right decision, if we want her to parent from a place of, success and strength, being able to provide a boppy because it helps with nursing, or, we have some refugee moms that, have come here with very little and their bellies are growing. And so to be able to provide, maternity clothes or things after birth care, or those things is so, so, so important to, even the mental health to the mom, and then what that does then for the child.
Hmm. Well, and that goes a long way because it is, and I'm not a mom, but the but I totally have a new respect for moms and the stuff like my wife has gone through a lot, and just again, she's the primary, sort of, the main primary, caregiver. Obviously, I'm here to support whatever I could possibly do, but I'm out. Obviously I have to be sort of the breadwinner, and then she has to. And we work together in that fashion. But it is mentally draining, to and some of the things that any parent really goes through. I mean, you get to this point where you love your kid, you love, you go through these times, you're like, oh, this is so amazing, and then there's other times where you have, maybe they're not listening. They're, what are they, the three-nagers or
Right.
something, like, I think that's the term now. Right. And you love them, but again, you have this sort of stress and everything else that goes along with that, along with life. So, to what you guys are doing, and you mentioned it right there, is, and really the purpose of this podcast is to let people know, hey, you have the ability to, if you're a parent, even if you're not a parent, or you just want to go to the store and get, buy baby clothes, or buy toddler clothes, or whatever it is that you can do to support, you have the ability to help take that stress away, take something out of that equation, because it is hard enough mentally, I would say, even as a parent, to have to deal with some of those things, the late nights, the dealing maybe with them gaining a personality, right? There's a whole thing with that. So,
And
like, yeah,
housing, if you're stressed out about
yeah,
housing situation. We had a mom recently, she's 37 weeks pregnant and she's homeless. And so out
oh,
what that looks like. A lot of homeless
yeah,
like your partner. So, what
yeah,
does that look like? We provided her with a baby carrier, the ones that kind of strap on like a backpack and you put the baby in. And so have
yeah,
transportation. And so, things like that, that I think a lot of us forget. Like you and I know how hard it is to parent. Um, like you
hmm,
alluded to earlier, but then there's these other things, not to mention we're going on year 2 of pandemic. And so, um,
yeah. Throw that on top
right,
there.
right. Add that on top of all the things that it takes, and so that's what we want to do. We want to alleviate just some of that burden. Not just the financial burden, but the mental burden. The am I doing enough for my child? And we do it for the case managers too. We, have some ladies that run an adoption, and so they're dealing with people
Mm,
that are
right.
abortion minded, and a lot of times down
Yeah,
to I don't have a bed. I don't have a bed for this child. I can't have this child. And so us being able to do that and then letting them have those conversations
yeah,
is huge. We're talking with, parents who, they're new parents that are foster parents and they end up with a child they weren't planning on. We have a
yeah,
thing called grandparents as parents. And so when grandparents end up with them and they don't know about all the things that you need or could have now. Um,
or forgot about them at that point. Yeah.
Um,
It's a true thing. I mean, yeah, you go so long, and then you realize, wow, yeah, we needed all this, and nowadays you maybe need a little bit more.
right,
With
right.
who knows, nowadays I guess you need an iPad or something, like, to keep them entertained or whatever. But anyway, keep going.
So yeah, I think we've seen a huge explosion lately. We do a Wednesday wish list, and when what we found is, we post that on social media, and these are the things we don't have in right now. Like we've had 5 requests for strollers just this week. A
Mm,
lot of people with strollers sitting in their garage or they're, at Target and they're like, man, this umbrella stroller, it's on sale. I can grab one extra. I have the ability, and they're changing lives. We had a
yeah,
group of ladies in last night that came in to volunteer, and they were doing some stuff. And while they were here, we had a manager pick up. And she was like, you're not going to see a mom pick up her stuff tonight, but I want you to know that this is far reaching. Like, this makes us able to do our job. It makes them being able to be a mom. And maybe you're just organizing clothes today or wrapping diapers today, but they're going to be placed, in the hands of somebody that's going to empower them to make this world a better place by being a better parent.
Isn't that the best transaction of them all?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like, and what you said there too is, and part of this movement of being part of the solution and not the problem is, the problem is, hey, we can't afford it. What are you going to? Can't afford diapers, whatever. Right? You can focus in on that. Blame inflation. Blame the government. Blame everything else. Right? We can't. We as people can't control that.
Right.
Right? We can't control if gas prices go up and everything like that. I mean, obviously, there's we do control it, I would say, but we do it in a
Yeah.
microcosm.
Yeah.
But that microcosm has to be replicated over and over and over again before it has more of a macro effect, right?
Well,
So,
I mean, even to that,
yeah,
like, um, these babies need it now. Like we can't
right,
until there's an election or until there's somebody who makes a
right,
rule on this or until somebody, donates
hmm,
$1 to the city or whatever it is, there are babies
yeah,
born right now that need a bed.
yeah, and so yeah, you can think about, you can blame people, think about the problems, everything else, and you don't get me wrong, like there's times where you're like, yeah, like you want to do that, and it kind of feels good sometimes to do that
Yeah.
because it's good to vent. But to enable you as the somebody listening to this or out there, you have the ability to change lives and bring hope to somebody, create lives. I mean, like you mentioned, I mean, if you're somebody's considering having a new kid, but they don't want to have, they can't, they realize, oh, well, I can't because I don't have a bed. Literally, I always said, we're going to save a life and everything like that, which we have. I mean, we indirectly in working and building awareness about other organizations we have, but you really are creating lives too in the process. So by enabling and showing that there's hope, there's support and everything else. But if the solution is in the individual thought and the first outlook, and it's also realizing, hey, the solution is sometimes just, hey, when you go to the store and you see the diapers, and yeah, maybe you don't have a kid, maybe you don't have whatever, or if you do have a kid, maybe buy that extra and then use that as a donation to your organization. And guess what? The best feeling, you want to overcome stress, you want to overcome anxiety, you want to overcome all these things that have really kind of plagued, I think, um, the world in the past 2 years with
Right.
everything. Then start doing something for other people. Start becoming attaching your purpose to a bigger purpose, and it starts with the small things. Buy the extra pack of diapers, buy the extra formula. Man, if you can do it
Yeah.
and everything else, that is going to make a huge difference in somebody else's life, and which is just awesome.
So a little, maybe a little micro movement that we've seen here, had a couple of in the last month or so, are people celebrating their child's first birthday. And basically, the parent saying, not only does my kid not know it's their birthday, but they don't need anything. There's nothing that my child, goes without. And so we've had
Yeah.
several in the last couple months. They're having they're still having the party. They're still taking the pictures. They're still having the, and what they do is put on, the invitation, or they let
Oh,
their
that's cool.
guests know that, hey, anything you bring, we're going to donate to Helping Mamas. Or here's their Amazon, wish list that they need. And so, through these things, not only have we gotten things, I think what it does for them, they're honoring their
Yeah.
child and, the work that they've put in the last year by kind of, paying it forward. Um, we had a group last week do something called Playdate with a Purpose. And so these moms are already getting together. They've got these young kids. They want to help, but they feel so strapped to, nap schedules and, just lugging kids around and
Mm,
trying to volunteer at the same time. So what they do is they
yeah.
got together for a play date and everybody brought a pack of diapers. Um, so that's been really cool. But
I
there
love
are
it. I
things
love
that
it.
you can do, baby steps, if you will, but just little things that you can do. And I'm here to tell you that it's going to make a huge difference. I can already see it. Somebody saying, "Oh my gosh, I wish I would have thought of that." Um, a sweet lady last month during the Christmas season, she said, I've got to do something. I got to do something. I know I've got to do something.
Never know.
Can I collect diapers?" I was like, "All the time. You can always collect diapers." And he hosted. baby shower. She sent out invitations to her friends all over the country, and she said, I want to do this. Here's the Amazon link. They sent diapers to her house. They sent diapers here. And,
Sure.
just by creating this virtual baby shower, which is not weird in the time that we live in anymore,
Oh, wow.
um, I think she brought us 3,500 diapers. And so it was something that she did as an act of kindness and before the holiday season. And it made a huge
Yeah.
difference.
Oh,
And
that's
she
so
was
cool.
able to
Yeah.
do that
I
with
didn't even, I mean,
people that didn't
you
just
don't even
necessarily
think
live
about
here.
these things sometimes, like these virtual, these virtual events. And that's the coolest. I don't want to say sort of
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's sort of an oxymoron potentially, but the coolest thing about the pandemic, but which is not probably an inappropriate thing to say, but I think, you're listening to this, obviously you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying here, which is, it has brought, good things out. I mean, yes, we've been dealt a bad hand of cards, right? But that we cannot
Yeah.
control, right? At an individual level, we can do things to mitigate and everything else, but we can't control the actual thing that's coming at us, right? We can't control the weather. We can't control some of these things. But what the thing is that just because you can't control it, um, it doesn't mean that it's there's no solution for it. So you can look at something like this where virtual events and doing things like this in a podcast is totally cool and totally acceptable. And some people are realizing, hey, wow, that's a way more efficient way of meeting than driving an hour to see somebody and then driving an hour back. Um, you know, but we're able to reach so many more people. So when the impact that this can have on a nonprofit or in an initiative is exponentially greater because your audience is just, it's everybody, right? Anybody with a pulse and a computer, basically, right?
Yeah, right. And so, I've told people say, I don't know what I can do. Like I work and I can't volunteer, or, I don't necessarily,
Yeah.
financially, I can't, commit that much, or whatever it is. And I always tell them that, maybe it's following us on social media, maybe it's, your husband or your sister or whoever, and they have a business and they want to collect
Hmm.
diapers. We are dying to get a van. Our Atlanta has a van, and they do mobile deliveries. They do stack the bus type activities for fundraising. They are able to go and reach more rural communities. And so we've really been looking at to how we can get a van. And you just never know who's going to hear
Yeah.
this and say, wait a second, my husband works for this car dealership and they said they were looking for whatever it is. So
Hmm.
I always tell people, like, just liking a post or sharing it has done huge things for
Yeah.
us. When we started the Wednesday wish list, it was like, we were just putting it on there, and we can put things up on Wednesday, and a lot of times by Friday it'll show
Yeah.
up at our
Well, and if you don't have,
at our
I think a
doorstep,
lot of
and
people look
that
at
has been
donations or
huge.
helping a nonprofit as, okay, you have to have money, or you have to have this extra money or this extra time, everything like that, right? Which is important. I think it's a huge, I mean, definitely an important aspect of it. But thinking about the way to be able to be a part of that solution, sometimes be a part of it can start. You can start right now. You're listening to a podcast. You are on some sort of device that is going to enable you to be able to share a message, right? Share something. And now all of a sudden now you can donate, quote unquote. You can volunteer, quote unquote, by just clicking share. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't take a lot of time. And it can influence so many people. But I
Yeah,
think sometimes when we again, if we are exposed to a bunch of negative media all the time, and we're constantly, we're not feeding our minds like we should be feeding our bodies, right? To live a healthier, happier life, um, then really that's not helping anybody. So I think one of the best ways that you can do this is just by, like you said, sharing it. I mean, start there, and
right.
then work baby steps, work your way up.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, just the power of an idea. Um, have you thought about
yeah,
this? We had some med students that I think needed to get some community service hours, and they contacted us. Most of them do not have children. They didn't have a really strong connection. And something else is that going? There we go. We brought up, and
yeah,
we want to get into more of the middle schools and stuff because, again, this is something that happens. It's something that's essential. that, 50% of our population deals with. And it was great for med
Right.
students because they were not, they weren't kind of turned off by that idea. And so they created these kits for us that we then took to a distribution for the YWCA, where we
Yeah.
gave out school supplies for middle schoolers and sanitary products that are also expensive and taxed and whatever. But you
Hmm.
can get stuck on that part, or you can say, hey, what's your
It
idea?
is,
Because
and it
that
gets people to
idea
think,
could
you know,
really be the difference.
creatively, and to think about their sphere of influence. I mean, like you mentioned too, even like with the car dealership. If you know somebody that's in a car dealership, and they're you start bring if you bring up these conversations, then about what your organization can do and more importantly what your
Yeah.
organization needs, then a lot of things can happen. It's amazing. It's crazy. You have an idea. Sometimes the idea, when you
Yeah.
put enough passion into it, when you put enough focus into it, and you self discipline yourself, whatever. Create enough discipline to to to
Yeah.
focus in on the solution and not the problem, because the problem isn't going to get you anywhere. Uh, that amazing things just start. They do happen, but again, it does start with all of these little baby steps. And I think if people look at it like that, it's crawl before you walk before you run, and run before you sprint, or whatever it is, whatever's next after that. So, yeah.
Well, do this kind of pandemic world, in this
Hmm.
kind of negative media world, what's your passion? What are you passionate about? What's your passion project? Everybody has, if you're not a mom, you have one. And whether they were good or not so great,
Hmm. Yeah.
your feelings towards being able to make that better. um we had a gentleman who saw something that we were doing. We were putting together mom kits before the holidays, and he emailed us and said, "My mom passed away 2 years ago, and I cannot think of a better
Hmm.
way to honor her than to
Yeah.
create these to help moms be, the kind of moms that my mom was." And obviously brought me to tears, and I'm responding to him going, I hope that,
Hmm.
my hope is that the things that we're putting out are going to produce kids like you. And just knowing the impact
Yeah.
that it does, especially for a teen mom, a mom that's in recovery, a single mom, a mom that doesn't
Yeah.
speak English, a mom that's new to this area, a mom that wasn't planning on having a kid, um, all of the things. Yeah, I think your sphere is so much bigger than you think it is,
Hmm.
but you got to kind of dig
Yeah,
for that
and if
passion,
you
and
can
and
relate,
and then
anybody who
what you
can
get from that
relate,
is
not just to
huge.
moms, but parenting in that world. I mean, just the impact not only that you're going to have during that phase of life. So I feel like, when you first get married, or at least in my relationship, it was, we got married. It was a few years before we had a kid, so we didn't jump right in. But it was, we went through these different phases, right? So you go through like dating, then you go through marriage, and not everybody goes that path either. I mean, so I'm not saying that it's just one path, but at the same time, you're going to go through parenting a
Yeah,
young child, and then that you're going to move on to some other phase of your life. From there, now that young kid, or that toddler becomes a kid, they become a teenager, they become an adult. And the thing is that if you're helping these people early, what you're doing when you're buying the extra pack of diapers, you're buying the extra formula, or you're figuring out a way to volunteer your time, is you're impacting that person for the rest of their life, because the experience that you can give them today, the help that you can give them today, I would imagine also changes their mental health going forward for the rest of their life.
so I have a 9, a
Right.
5, and
I
a
was going to
one
say,
year
yeah,
old.
seems really coordinated.
And we like to say we only have babies during election years. It's a great distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but two of mine were not planned. And, the surprise and the shock that comes from that, is huge. And, like you said, like I was in a different phase for each one of those. And, you need that help in the beginning. You need, that tribe. You need that support. You need, and when I look back, those pivotal moments when somebody said, maybe an older, wiser mom that said, hey, it's okay to let your baby cry every now and then. Or, hey, it's okay to
Mhm.
leave them and go to work. I struggled with that. I think a lot of moms struggle with that. And so what we're doing is allowing these agencies and these social workers to, use their expertise and use their time and get these moms involved in the parenting
Yeah.
classes or job search
Mhm.
or whatever, knowing that their baby is dry. Um, Warm, and safe. And so, again, we all need food, water, shelter.
Right.
That you can't even move past decision making if you don't meet those needs. And so, doing that. And then when I look
Mhm.
back on my own experience, thinking these are the things that got me through. Um, Though they're essential, they're not essential in
Yeah.
our world. And so that's where we come in, and anybody can help with
So,
that. There's
so how can
anybody
somebody watching
that
this,
that can help with that.
I'm sold. I am definitely sold. I loved. I mean, after having this podcast, I mean, I'm
Right.
so much more sold in helping your organization, and I definitely want to help, whether donating financially or definitely again, virtual drives, things like that. I mean, this is just, I'm going to dig in a little bit further. But if you're somebody like me or anybody else out there that's inspired by your message there, Melissa, and what you guys are doing, which I think is absolutely incredible, how can they help? How can specifically?
Right. So I think you can jump on our social media and get on our website, which is tennessee.helpingmamas.org, and you can, we have all kinds of ways that you can donate, whether it's your time, if you're volunteering, if you're in our area. I will totally host you if you are coming from, far in. We'll
Always a
figure
good
that out.
thing.
Love to have that. Obviously your money, financial gifts are huge. And because we are, have the tax incentive there too. We have monthly donors. Some people say I can't give a whole bunch at once, but I can do $10 a month,
Hmm.
and $10 a month is gonna do a lot for somebody. um, Things, again, if you're more local and you can drop stuff off, that's huge. If you're not, we have an Amazon wish list that has a variety of things. um, you can do that. You can host a virtual shower. You can host a play date with a purpose. You can follow along and look for the specific needs, or maybe sit back and say, you know what I needed? I needed bottles. I needed good bottles. And I'm going to make sure you guys have that, and you can send us that. Pack and play, or sorry, car seats and bottles and pacifiers obviously have to be new. Car seats is a huge request, and between supply chain issues and rising costs there, I can usually get a friend to pick up an extra pack of diapers. But the car seats that we get are about $60, $60 to $75 a piece, and so those are huge. Maybe um,
Hmm.
you've been inspired or whatever, or had an issue with a car seat that it saved your child's life, or life easier. And we would love to honor your child or your situation by being able to give that to somebody else. So car seats are huge. And again, like I said earlier, like dig into what you're passionate about. Are you good at connecting people, and you've heard of a grant opportunity that you think we should dig
Yeah.
into? We're like the next person, like we're looking for that, and we compete with some pretty big, more well-known organizations, um, for that kind of stuff. And we're so grassroots, and we're so small in the
Hmm.
grand scheme of things. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is we
Yeah.
serve a lot of those agencies too. A lot of that we work with are nonprofits, and they're social services. They're educational or religious or government based. They're also nonprofit.
Hmm.
And so a lot of times we'll be talking to somebody. We're like, hey, we serve Head Start, and we serve this, and we serve United Way, and we do this, and we work through those people. And so that's big too. So I think you start
Love it.
with reaching out. You're going to get either me or Tess, and just earlier, the power of an idea. Have you thought about this? We are open to that because we've had some incredible suggestions,
That's incredible, and I think
and that
the
could make all
fact
the
that
difference.
you're grassroots, the fact that um, you can relate to them, right? Which is really really huge. And anybody listening out here that
Yeah,
again you're maybe struggling with basic needs, material need, the diapers, the stuff, all the stuff you need. Obviously, that's one aspect, but also even the other needs, right? Maybe you're struggling a little bit with you're going through some challenges, right? I mean, you connect them to that's a really cool thing I love about what you guys are doing is you're a connector. You're connecting them to the partner agencies that can help in a lot of other areas. So it's like you're really the go to first, and then from there you can point and direct. And I think because a lot of moms sometimes they're like, where do I start? Well, you know what? Start with helping mamas.
yeah, yeah. We part of something that we do is, a mom calls and they've been in a domestic violence situation. We have several agencies that work with that, and so we can hook them up with them, and then they're getting long-term care. They're getting access to things we don't even have access to. A lot of those agencies have the ability to do rent assistance or, things like that, and so. We've got several agencies that do OB and medical care and mental health care, and getting them connected that way.
Yeah.
Our refugee agencies, a lot of them do English language classes. And so, just being able to say, like, start with them, like, we can
Hmm.
take care of your diapers, but they're going to take care of
Yeah. So I
moving
mean,
you
if you're
forward. And
a mom in
that's
need,
that's huge.
parent in need, you need some help, and you need to go. You want to be pushed forward, and you need the support at the same time to make sure you don't fall. I mean, this is you're the call, I guess, really, right? Not to keep rhyming here. I'm not much of a rhymer, but you know, yeah,
Yeah. Obviously, we're based in Tennessee, and so that's where our are, and our reach is pretty far, but we're in that area. And so, but we can always suggest, like, maybe it's your health department. A lot of
yeah,
police and fire places are trained in car seat safety too, which means they have some car seats if you're in need of that. United Way is a great place to start, or searching. There's the National Diaper Bank has a network of national diaper banks, and some of them do, primarily diapers and wipes. Some of them kind of do the whole baby supply, like we do too. But there is help out there,
yeah.
and I think where there's help, there's hope.
Melissa, it's been such a
And
pleasure having you on.
you're not alone.
I appreciate. Yeah, and what everything the work that you
Yeah, this is
do, and being a center point, as I see for moms out there, right? There's and I had no idea that there was even a national diaper bank. So it's the resources, the knowledge that your organization has, not just the knowledge, but the arms that you have, the connections to these partner agencies and everybody is huge. And I think that's going to be you are representing the solution and not the problem. And that's really what we're all about here on the missions that made them. And you as an individual listener out there, you have the ability to take part in this, right? You can change somebody's life right now by going and buying an extra pair of diapers. You can change somebody's life by donating that car seat, or donating something that you by looking in the closet. Look in the closet. You can change somebody's life by doing that. And I think if we all do that, if we all as individual people, we have the ability to make the world a better place. If we rely on everything else, if you rely on the external, right, you rely on the government, you rely on all these things, you're just going to end up being unhappy, because again, it's something that you can't control. But what you can control is right here inside of your mind, in the next steps that you take. Right, you can take action right now. You can support helping mamas. Obviously, is a great first start of that. But again, it all starts right here, the change. And if we have enough people that do that, enough people and bring enough positivity and enough action, then the world will change. And it'll be something that we as the people will all be in control of. So, Melissa, any last words before we hop off?
Man, I am so excited to take this. I feel like East Tennessee is God's country. I mean, I was born and raised about an hour from here. And I think sometimes I get lost that there are people right on the other side of the street that need help. And I'm sure if you're listening, you're that way too. We get caught up in a lot of these first world problems. But just to echo everything that you said, it feels like one person can't make a difference, but you can in your corner. And so maybe you're really far away from here, or maybe I don't know, but go volunteer somewhere. Nonprofits live off help from not just generous donors but generous volunteers,
And you can make a difference right now
and that
by
is going to make
subscribing
a
to our channel.
difference.
You can make a difference by sharing this podcast. Share it with your parents that you know. Share it with the people that your sphere of influence, right? I mean, share it with those people. That's a great way to start. It doesn't cost anything. It's very quick to do, right? So do
Yeah,
that, and be sure to smack the bell so you get the
yeah.
notifications when we post out new interviews. We have several coming up as we speak. We've already booked, I think, over 200. I think around 230 interviews. We've started making the invites about 2 weeks ago. We already have 230 interviews or so booked. So there's going to be a lot of hope, and there's going to be a lot of this word spread. And I think, but again, you could do your part right now by sharing this interview and sharing the great Melissa. You've been such an amazing guest. What you guys do is just absolutely amazing. And for those of you out there, stay amazing, stay healthy, and have an amazing rest of your day.